Hi YouTube, it's me. Just wanted to jump on here real quick. This is going to be a very touchy subject. I don't know if anybody else has heard about it. There's actually two parts on this particular article. So what I'm going to do is go back and forth and actually read some of the articles. And some of y'all might say, oh, we've heard it, but that's okay too. I just wanted to share it with y'all and stuff. So I'm going to be going back and forth, and if you see me kind of looking like, it's because I'm looking at something else while I'm reading the articles. So let's see. And this was written May 29th. Canada mourns as remains of 215 children found at an Indigenous school. Unmarked graves containing the remains of 215 children have been found in Canada at a former residential school. The children were students at the Kamloops Indian Residential School in British Columbia that closed in 1978. And see, now I'm probably going to get a lot of backlash and, they whitewashed you and you don't really fight for your people and all that stuff. But that's okay. You can call me a colonizer. That's okay. But people have been telling Indigenous people to get over it. Because it didn't happen to you, yada yada yada, and all sorts of stuff. No, it didn't happen to them. But they have family members that happened to them. So it affects them too, because it's been in their family. So for them to tell them to get over it is really? Because it not only happened to the 1800s, okay? It happened from the 1800s all the way to the time it closed down, 1978. And you tell them to get over it? Really? Yeah. So, it didn't happen back in the day. It happened from the 1800s to 1978. That's a long time that those kids have been abused, neglected, starved to death. And you tell them to get over it. That's... no. No. So, from 1900 to 1978, those children have been sexually assaulted, abused. Yeah, anything under the book they've been done to. So it's horrible, very sad. The discovery was announced on Thursday by the chief of the First Nations people. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said it was a painful reminder of a shameful chapter of our country's history. The First Nation is working with museum specialists and the coroner's office to establish the cause and timings of the deaths, which are not currently known. Roseanne, the chief of the community in British Columbia city of Kamloops, said the preliminary finding represented an unthinkable loss that was never documented by the school's administrators. Well, of course not. Canada's residential schools were compulsory boarding schools run by the government and religious authorities during the 19th and 20th centuries with the aim of forcibly assimilating Indigenous youth. Kamloops Indian Residential School was the largest in the residential system. Opened under Roman Catholic administration in 1890, the school has had many as 500 students when enrollment peaked in the 1950s. The central government took over administration of the school in 1969. See? So don't tell them to get over it. Okay? 1969 to 1978. That's ridiculous. Operating it as a residence for local students until 1978 when it closed. What do we know about the remains? The First Nation said the remains were found with the help of a ground-penetrating radar during a survey of the school. To our knowledge, these missing children are undocumented deaths. Some were as young as 3 years old. Can you imagine your own children? I don't have children, but can you imagine someone going to your house, knocking on your door, pushing you out of the way, maybe even shooting you, because that's what they did. If the parents did not give their children up, they would shoot them right in front of them and take them. But can you imagine that happening to you, to your kids, and you sit there and tell them to get over it? Mm-mm. Can you imagine, though? I mean, I look at my Sunday school kids every Sunday and go, oh my goodness, I can't imagine them getting taken away like that. Nope. That's crazy. Coming down your road with wagons and just loading your kids up, pushing you. I mean, literally, either they're going to kill you to get your kids, or they're going to threaten you and say, move out of the way or we'll kill you. And they'll just walk right in your house. They will. They just walked right in their houses and just started picking up their kids and dragging them out of the house. It's just sad, and to tell them to get over it, it's sad. Okay, I'm going to continue. We sought out a way to confirm that, knowing out of deepest respect and love for those lost children and their families, understanding that is the final resting place of these children. And this was the chief of the First Nations. The tribe said it had reached out to the home communities whose children attended the school. They expected to have preliminary findings by mid-June. British Columbia's chief coroner, Lisa, told Canadian broadcaster CBC, "We are early in the process of gathering information." What reaction has there been? The reaction has been one of shock, grief, and contrition. I don't know how to say that word. The news that remains were found at the former Kamloops residential school breaks my heart, Mr. Trudeau wrote in a tweet. And this is what Justin said in his tweet. The news that remains were found at the former Kamloops residential school breaks my heart. It is a painful reminder of the dark and shameful chapter of our country's history. I'm thinking about everyone affected by this distressing news. We are here for you. Let's see. Canada's Minister of Indigenous Relations, Carolyn Bennett, said residential schools were part of a shameful colonial policy. The government was committed to memorializing those lost innocent souls, she said. Terry Teague, the original chief of British Columbia's Assembly of First Nations, called finding such grave sites urgent work that refreshes the grief and loss of communities in the region. Those views were echoed by other Indigenous groups, including the First Nations Health Authority, FNHA. That this situation exists is sadly not a surprise, and illustrates the damaging and lasting impacts that the residential school system continues to have on First Nations people, their families, and the communities. Its CEO Richard Jock wrote in a statement, and that's true, because it still affects those people that survived. And those people that survived had families, and they still struggle with that. That's why they have addictions, alcohol, because they can't. That's why most of the people that survived, that's why they can't talk about it. They don't talk about it at all with anybody unless they get permission to talk about it. Because half of their kids didn't know they were in a residential school unless they told their kids about what happened to them. So it's very sad. Very sad. The children were often not allowed to speak their language or to practice their culture, and many were mistreated and abused. A commission launched in 2008 to document the impacts of this system found that large numbers of Indigenous children never returned to their home communities. The landmark Truth and Reconciliation Report released in 2015 said the policy amounted to cultural genocide. In 2008, the Canadian government formally apologized for the system. They did apologize, but the Pope, Catholics, the Pope said he wasn't going to apologize because he said what he was doing was God's work. Really? Did God tell you to abuse those children? Did God really tell you to sexually assault those children? No. Because God wouldn't tell anybody to do that. That was your choice to do that. And the Pope was never going to apologize because he was doing God's work. Really? So, yeah. And in the other news, he even said he wasn't going to apologize. And now, all of a sudden, Catholic churches are being burned down. And they don't know if it's the Catholics burning the churches down because they're hiding stuff, or they think that they don't know who's burning the churches down. Because they think it's the Indians, the indigenous people, and others think it's the Catholics burning their own churches down. Because it doesn't want to come back to them. So who knows? Who knows who's burning the Catholic churches down? Who knows? But that's just crazy. It's weird. The Missing Children Project documents the deaths and the burial places of children who died while attending schools. To date, more than 4,100 children who died while attending a residential school have been identified. Because they found 215, and here recently they found more. They found 715 or 51 children. That's another article that I'll read. But yeah, this is crazy. Let's see. This is more on residential schools in Canada. Oh, that's just a video. But yeah, it is crazy, sad. It's just... Let's see if I can't find the other one. Oops. It's just sad. Yeah, here's another one. And I think at another boarding school they found more. Let's see. Okay. This says at least 600 graves found at Indigenous boarding school. First Nation announces the discovery of hundreds of unmarked graves on former Marville Indian Residential School grounds. Okay, I think this is another school. They discovered hundreds of unmarked graves on the ground of the former Marville Indian Residential School in Saskatchewan, Canada, and Indigenous leaders say they will find more at other sites. If they do, I'm going to... Oh my goodness. Ugh. And remind you, this is only in Canada, okay? Where I live in the United States, there's no telling. No one has said anything. Nobody has found anything that I know of. But this is only in Canada. There's no telling how many more are in the United States that are undiscovered. There's no telling. No telling. Chief Cadmus Delmore of the... I don't want to mess that up because some Indigenous people get mad when you mess up their name. The First Nations in Saskatchewan said they had found at least 600 graves after radar detected 751 hits in a field on the school grounds. This is not a mass grave site. These are unmarked graves, he said in a news conference on Tuesday. Chief Bobby Cameron of the Federation of Sovereign Indian Nations said the discovery, coupled with the recent discovery of the remains of 215 Indigenous children at the former Kamloops Indian Residential School in British Columbia, shows genocide committed by Canada. Shame on you, Canada. Your blood is on their hands. Just letting you know. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada determined in 2015 that more than 150,000 Indigenous children had been forced into residential schools. Cameron said on Tuesday there are many burial sites like at Marvel and Kamloops, and that searches will continue. We will find more bodies, and we will not stop until we find all our children. The world is watching Canada as we unearth the findings of genocide. We had concentration camps here. We had them here in Canada, in Saskatchewan. They were called Indian Residential Schools, he said. Now we have evidence. The gravesite at Marvel was administered by the Roman Catholic Church. Del Rome said, over the years, oral stories from the Indigenous elders talked of the burials. And see, this one elderly lady, she talked about how her and this other Indigenous girl were thrown in a dungeon underneath the school. Underneath the school. They were thrown in the dungeon. And she had this girl on her, like holding her as she took her last breath. She got sick. She was starving to death. And she said that little girl was in her arms, and she just watched her die in her arms. And this elderly lady just started crying as she was telling the reporters about it. She just couldn't. It's sad. I mean, children holding children as they pass. That's something that will never go away. I can't imagine. It's horrible. In 1960, there may have been marks on these graves, Delmore said. The Catholic Church representatives removed these headstones, and today they are unmarked graves. Removing gravestones is a crime in Canada, Del Rome said, and the area is being treated as a crime scene. Well, you're not going to find those people because half of those people are probably dead by now, or they're old. We cannot confirm they are all children, but there are oral stories that there are adults in these grave sites as well. Yes, that's another thing. Those kids some of them were as old as 3, yes, babies. And then there was teenagers. And then those teenagers, gradually grew up in that school with abuse and trauma and all that stuff. And eventually they graduated or they made it out. Some didn't make it out. Some of them did not make it at all. And so that's probably why there's probably, adult children there too. So not only just babies. And when I have kids of my own, I'm going to hold them tight. Nope. Del Rome said the ground-penetrating radar technology used to discover the graves had an error rate of roughly 10 to 15%. There were 715 hits, which means at least 600 graves. So 215 plus 600, so that's 815. Wait, 215, 15, 10, 1, 2, 3. Yep, that's quite a bit. The discovery comes weeks after the remains of 215 children were found at the former Kamloops Indian Residential School. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau described that discovery as heartbreaking. Elder Florence Sparver recalled her time at the Marvel boarding school. She said the Catholic nuns were rough with Indigenous children and barred them from keeping their customs. We had our own way of honoring ourselves and Mother Earth, Sparver said. Remember that Indigenous blessings were banned. Canada's history of boarding schools for Indigenous children has made national news following the Kamloops discovery. They would just start beating you and lose control and hurl you against the wall, throw you on the floor, kick you, punch you. Geraldine Bobb, a survivor of the Kamloops Indian Residential School, said about her experience there in a report. Oh, they got a PDF file on that one. Kamloops was also administered by the Catholic Church. Pope Francis expressed pain. No, he didn't. And offered condolences. No, he didn't. He said he was not going to. After the upsetting discovery of the remains of 215 children. But he did not accept responsibility for his church's actions. There you go, people. Okay. The Pope needs to apologize for what has happened to the Marvel Residential School to help survivors and descendants heal. An apology is one stage of many in the healing journey. Yes, it is. Okay. And you can also Google it as well. There's pictures of the markings of the graves that when they were mowing the grass, they marked them off with orange flags, and that's why you see most Indigenous people, like on YouTube or TikTok, they're wearing orange, because that's the remembrance of all those children that were found. And if you have a TikTok account, you can go on there and look as well. Because they, in front of the Kamloops Residential School, there is 215 little bitty shoes that they have placed all around in front of that school. And they put orange paint on their hand, and they hand printed the doors, all of them, the whole thing. And a couple of weeks ago, Queen Elizabeth's statue, and I forgot what the other statue was that's next to her, they knocked those down. The Indigenous people, I think it was the Indigenous people and non-Indigenous people that supported the Indigenous, they all knocked those statues down, threw orange paint on them, and just trashed that whole place. And I don't blame them, but yeah, it's just horrible what those people went through. And to sit there and tell them to get over it when they have family members that are still suffering today. I can't imagine me sitting next to somebody that's miserable and is in pain because of what happened to them. Can you imagine just sitting next to somebody that you look at them and they don't have no expression. They're sad all the time. That's just horrible. I can't imagine. And I know this is a long video, but I can't. And I can show you pictures, I guess. But yeah, it's just very, very sad. Very sad. I don't know if you can see that. All those little shoes. And that's the school. And then you'll see shirts that have Every Child Matters. It's just, yeah. Let's see if I can't blow this one up. And I don't know if you can see, all those flags are unmarked graves. And it's horrible. Horrible what they have done. I mean, it's just so sad. It is just crazy. All those represent the children that were found. Let me see if I can't find a video. You can see, and this is where they knocked down the statue. Queen Victoria and Elizabeth toppled in Canada amid anger at deaths of Indigenous children. Let's see. Statues of Queen Victoria and Queen Elizabeth have been toppled in Canada amid growing outrage over the discovery of unmarked graves belonging to Indigenous children. A group gathered at the Manitoba Legislature in Winnipeg pulled down the statue of Victoria on Canada Day, an annual celebration on July 1st that marks the country's confederation. Members of the group wearing orange shirts to honor Indigenous children sent to the country's notorious residential schools covered the statue and is printed in red handprints, sorry, I said orange, and left a sign that read, "We were children once. Bring them home." A smaller statue of Elizabeth was also toppled on the east side of the grounds. Both royals are seen as representative of the country's colonial history. At least 150,000 Indigenous children were taken from their families to attend schools over a century as part of the campaign by the government to forcefully assimilate the children into Canadian society. On Thursday, the Lower Kootenay Band announced they had discovered 182 human remains in unmarked graves at a former residential school, the latest in a series of grim discoveries that have shocked the country. The recent discoveries had previously led to calls from Indigenous groups to not celebrate Canada Day. "We will not celebrate stolen Indigenous land and stolen Indigenous lives. Instead, we will gather to honor all the lives lost to the Canadian state," said the group, Idle No More, calling for national rallies to support Indigenous communities. In Ottawa, thousands gathered on Parliament Hill for the Cancel Canada Day rally, shouting "Shame on Canada" and "Bring them home." Prime Minister Justin acknowledged the sombre tone of the federal holiday has taken on this year, an event typically marked with fireworks, picnics, and downtown parties. The horrific findings of the remains of hundreds of children at the sites of former residential schools in British Columbia and Saskatchewan have rightly pressed us to reflect on our country's historic failures and the injustice that still exists for Indigenous peoples and many others in Canada. We as Canadians must be honest with ourselves about our past. On Thursday, Calgary police announced that 10 churches in the city had been vandalized overnight with orange and red paint. One just had a window smashed so paint could be thrown inside. Police say painted handprints on 215, a reference to the first discovery of unmarked graves by the First Nations in late May, suggested the vandalism was linked to outrage over the unmarked graves. Protesters have increasingly targeted historical figures that were complicit in the establishment and operation of the schools, which lasted more than a century. Yeah, so it's just horrible. Very horrible. Let's see. I don't know if I can find some videos. Whoops. Okay, I'm gonna have to go on my.
School board's light-skinned neighbor.
Let's see if I can't find it. And they did a march as well at the residential site. They did well, not a march, but they I don't know if I can play.
Remember me when the sun comes up in the morning sky. There I will be. Sorry if I leave you so high. Remember.
That was the march they did in Canada. Let's see if I can't find another one. That one was a good one too. Oh, and this one's a sad one too. And what it was saying was this guy, as he was digging up the ground, it said that you found us, It's horrible what these people have gone through and what they're still going through. It's horrible. And it was so sweet. This one guy made a video. Beautiful. He sang it beautifully.
2:15 and counting, children 6 feet underground. This isn't who we are, but this is where we're from somehow. Our history has pages missing, now it's been exposed. So bring your soul to school, kids, question everything you're told. Seems history is written by hands holding bigger guns. So be careful when you listen and more careful when you judge. It's 7:51 now and the dirt soaked up the blood. But the bones remain to tell us that there's work here to be done. Oh, Canada, my heart is dim. I still see you rising and oh, Canada, my heart is dim. I still see you rise.
And that was another one. Let's see, what is that one? Trying to. Can't find that one video. Let's see. Because I think this one was when they first discovered, when they first discovered the bodies of those children. Let's see if I can't find it. Because it was a good one too. I have a lot of native followers on TikTok as well.
Shame on you.
Not that one. Well, I can't find it. Maybe down here somewhere. Because I have a lot. Well, because I have a lot of liked videos on my page, and I can't seem to. Oh, and if you know who Modern Warrior is on TikTok, you need to go check out his page. He's pretty cool. The Americans hate him because he calls them colonizers, But that's just him, it's his opinion. And he even calls some of the natives colonizers, but because they, but that's okay too. I mean, they're just words anyways. Where is it? Well, can't seem to find that video. Well, I'm gonna have to. Nope, that's not it. Nope. Man, I wished I could find it because that was a really good one. That was when they first found those people, the children. It was really, it was good. I have a lot of indigenous people on my TikTok. Also a lot of Polly, which is Samoan. Got Samoan and Polynesian people on my TikTok as well. So I think I got more Samoan than I do indigenous people on here. Well, I can't find it. Because it was really good. But it was telling the people, it was an American guy, because he lives in Canada, and he was telling, shame on you, Canada, your blood is on their hands. Just shame on you. Well, I can't seem to find it. Yeah, I can't find it. But, yeah, because now it says June 23rd, 2021, 1,323 people, kids, have been found. Which 215 Kamloops, 104 in Brandon, I think that's in Manitoba, 38 in Regina, Saskatchewan, 751 in Saskatchewan, 35 in Saskatchewan, and 180 in Charles something. I don't know. These are all the residential schools that they found the children in. That's all the schools that they have found those children in. Let's see. I think I'm getting close to it, but I'm not sure. No. Yeah, I'm not finding it. Yeah, I'm not finding it. But yeah, I just wanted to get on here for that because that's just a hard topic to talk about too. But yeah, it's horrible. Very horrible. I may not know much about my native side, but that just kills me still. I can't. No, very, 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 very sad. Very sad. can't imagine how. I'm so right there. But yeah, nope. But I just wanted to get on here and say, if y'all haven't heard about that. So, but yeah, when I first saw it, I was like, oh my goodness. But that's only in Canada though. That's not in the United States. So there's no telling if we have any more in the United States. Because I know they got shipped everywhere. So I don't know about the United States. I don't want to know in the United States because I'm gonna feel bad. But just wanted to get on here and talk a little bit about that and the news on that particular topic. But if you want more, just go on TikTok because there's lots of that going on TikTok. Videos and people talking about it, and it's sad, really sad. So, yeah, me and Coco, my dog, have been napping all day during the day because at nighttime we don't get sleep because of the fireworks. Hopefully they don't pop them tonight because I have to work in the next morning. So Friday, she's stretching. So Friday, me and her didn't go to bed until like maybe 1 o'clock, 12. Saturday, we didn't go to bed. We stayed up until 5 in the morning because of that storm we had. And Sunday, we stayed up till about 12 because it's fireworks. Yeah. And so Sunday we stayed up until 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. And so, yeah. So I'm still a little bit tired, but hey, it's okay. And then today we've been napping all day. So, and I'm drinking coffee as well. So we've been napping all day today. Well, my dad did come over about 10 o'clock because I got up at 9. So he came over and we went out to eat at Red Lobster because my birthday is on Wednesday and I'll be 31 this year. And so instead of waiting until my birthday, we went ahead and had lunch today because I was off today. So, but yeah. And so we just got back here about 1 o'clock I believe we got back. And so after I got back, took a nap, made some coffee, woke up, started drinking some coffee. And so far, I think it might do something. I don't know. Excuse me. Bless you. Come on. Come on. And this guy right here slept through the whole thing. It didn't bother him one bit. Did it, Jake? Hi, Jake. It didn't bother you one bit. So, yeah. You good? Bless you. But he slept through the whole thing. The whole thing. I don't know how, but he did. Calm down now. Yeah. But he slept through this old man slept through the whole thing. At least you're getting some sleep. But, yeah. So I just wanted to get on here and share that with y'all. And so, little man has no teeth. He has no teeth. But yeah, I just wanted to get on here because it's been a while. So I hope y'all had a wonderful 4th of July. And yeah. So I'll see y'all later.